This is the beginning of something new. This is something that although we've been talking about for a while, these gentlemen on the call with me right now, we've been talking about for a while. This is our chance to really kick this into gear. You're going to notice four of us here. Paul, Mike, and I have been talking about what we love about coaching. And we love about that, the power of coaching is being able to go deep and create shift very quickly. What we don't like is all the namby-pamby fluff that often gets layered on top of coaching and has word salad taking things take a lot longer. So we decided we wanted to play in a sandbox where we skip the fluff and get right to the coaching. So Niyama Ashong, who is a friend of ours, a high performer, and our willing coachee for today, has chosen at the last minute to step in. So I think that the best way to start is, here's what's important. Each of the three coaches has a different approach to coaching and a different approach to the world. And we can deconstruct that for you later. But for now, I think it would serve best if we dove in. Gentlemen, you ready to play?
Let's go.
Let's go.
So Niyama. My favorite question is always, what do you want to play with? What do you want to play with today?
Firstly, thank you very much for inviting me to be here. Paul, DTK, Mike, I respect each of you tremendously. And the only reason I said yes is because I think that you will really just take me to the edge of whatever needs to get done. This is not me. I know we skipped the fluff and stuff here, so this is not me trying to make y'all feel good. It's not my, like, y'all are the most amazing coaches that I know. It is my ask. It is my request. It's my request of you to not let me off the hook here. It's my request that in this conversation, I get 6 months. I accelerate my own like depth by 6 months because I was a part of this. That when I walk out of this space here, no one, like, people will be like, I don't recognize you anymore in a great way. Right. So that's why I said yes. I was like, I know I can talk to each of you individually and get this, but if I can get all three of your flames simultaneously, what is going to come out of this cauldron? That I needed to say. DTK, now I'm really present with you. Can you ask me again?
Absolutely. So what do you want to play with?
All right. So I know at the core of it all, I want to play with my leadership. I want to play with my leadership and I want to play with my mission. So right now, I feel that business is going well. I have had a lot of different ideas that have come to life in more of an ad hoc fashion over the years. And I've brought people along for the journey, but I'm now in a place where I can see the horizon in front of me, and I've set up the support that I need in order to move forward. Actually, let me rephrase that. I have set up the awareness that I need support, and I'm going for that. I'm bringing that into my world. It's not fully done. What I feel like I'm missing right now is that sense of connection to something much larger than myself. I feel that I'm almost kind of like in what I built, what I started building in 2019, 2020. And then it's like, okay, now it's finally coming to life, but I'm feeling, but like the same level of connection isn't there. So I would love to get back into, I would love to leave here being just so in tune and embodied and in alignment with my mission. I would love that mission to feel alive for me. I would love that the feeling of like, this can't stop me to come alive. Right now, it's like, oh yeah, I know what I'm about. I'm going to keep talking. I'm about outliers. I'm about edges. Like, we're going to keep going here, and I'm doing it, but I'm not. I'm a powerful man, and I don't feel like the power is really like coming through me. And it's something that I am just like kind of recultivating every day. Good work is getting done. And I know that, like, I know even better, not even better, but like even more full work could come if I can be far more integrated versus a bit more fractured right now. And I think mission might be the way to go about it.
Mission, I hear. There's a little piece that I wanted to pull forward, and Mike and Paul dive. Piece about not feeling connected to something larger. Mm-hmm. Right? There's that element of, I can't not do this, right? You're not feeling that rope to the sternum pulling you forward.
Yeah, that is very true. I feel like I'm here, I'm in alignment, this is where I'm supposed to be. I'll do stuff, I'll be staying here, but I don't feel that pull forward. Yeah, and I said mission, but I'm taking it back a bit and just saying, like, I feel the difference right now is I feel like I am I don't feel leadership coming through me. When I'm leading, things are clear. When I'm leading, it's like there are people that I'm stepping up. I'm like, there's a gap right now. I'm going to fill it. There's something that is here. This feels wonderful to bring out into the world. People should come in and experience it. Right now it almost feels like performing feels like, for me, it feels like a bad word. Like, it doesn't feel like I'm performing, but it just feels like I'm like the act, like I'm in so much of the doing or thinking about the doing. Like, I'm in doing and thinking, but I'm not in being. And my being, for me, most aligned is as a leader and saying like, okay, come along for the journey. Let's do something live, not because I want to get eyeballs on me or it's like what you need to do to build an audience, but because like this is how I choose to lead. I choose to I want to lead in this way, and I'm missing that right now. I'm all, you look at it, it's all the right stuff, but the leadership component is missing for me, and it's just like just that bit off.
Mike, there's a piece here about the unapologetic freedom piece that I know you like to play with. That I get a sense there's something underneath. All the parts are there, but the leadership isn't showing up yet. So I'm drawn to look at you here, Mike.
Yeah. Niyama, would you mind, because I don't think we've discussed this at any length before, you and I. Would you tell me what your mission has been?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So my mission is...
I'm going to challenge you. 6 words or less. Keep it tight.
I'm not going to accept that challenge because I know my mission is larger. I know what my mission is.
Okay, here it is. Explain it. How tight can you capture?
This is it.
I think this is the mission. Important.
I champion the leaders who are shaping the next era of humanity.
Now, declare it. Don't just say it.
Okay. It's in me now. Mike, I champion the leaders who are shaping the next era of humanity.
How did you come to that?
I had a conversation with a coach and shaman who was exploring what my like who I work with and why I work with them. And at the end of that conversation, I remember it very clearly. He said, I was talking about the work I want to do with corporations, and he asked me why a few different times. And then I came to this place where I said, I feel like we're at an inflection point as a society. And like, based on how we choose to, it's open, whatever happens next is very open from a societal perspective. But we're here, and it's like, I feel like I was put on this earth. My soul was chose to come down to this earth to be a part of shaping what's next for humanity. I remember he's like, now you've just become interesting to me. Like, we can always talk the other stuff, but now you've just become interesting to me. And I realized, like, in that moment that I was hiding back from from just putting that out into the world. It was always in the back of my mind. It was always behind what I was doing, but I was missing. That wasn't there, and I left it. And I was like, this is it. Like, I champion the leaders who are shaping the next era of humanity, and every single word in there matters. Champion versus serve, shaping versus creating. Next era versus like what we're currently doing. So it's very, and leaders as well, not just the people. I'm a leader of leaders, So that's really, that's the mission right now. Mm-hmm. That's a soul's calling. That's a soul call.
Thank you for making that fully present in this room.
Yeah. There's something I feel like I haven't told you that lies with this. This is the soul's calling. What I was saying was my mission beforehand, and I still feel like it might actually be the real truth here. Like, I'm afraid that I've been diverted with what I think is the calling. For years, I was like, I'm here to help bring together a truly inclusive and empowered world. And that was how I walked through life for years. And there's still that element that still lives as well. But I'm leading more from the place of I champion the leaders who are shaping the next era of humanity.
Hey, Nyama,
Hey, Paul.
in that edge that you're coming to, that you're withholding something, the leading part, the jumping all the way in, is that a belonging in yourself, or is that a belonging with others, possible resistance, or is that even relating to something like that? I'm just kind of curious.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked. Belonging is my path. There's definitely a belonging with others component to it. I've been thinking about like social justice and like if I want to work with people who are making an impact, I can talk about anyone can make an impact, but there's also people who are, and am I putting myself in the positions to actually go and champion those leaders who are shaping the next era of humanity now? They're emergent leaders. But then the question, there's a bit of the imposter part of it. There's another part of like, will this, like, do they actually need my support in terms of what they need? If they are as outliery as I think they are, as I know them to be, like, do they need, is there a need for me? And then the question becomes, of course there's a need, but like, what is that? How do I play into that? Right. And so there's a part of me that, if I'm going to be talking about this now we're hitting on the belonging from within myself, right? Because I'm a natural chameleon. That's how I've gotten through a lot of things. So I'm able to walk into different environments, say like, oh, what's the environment? How do we play here? What's the rules here? And then just change my skin to be able to blend in. Right. And so I think there's an element when I talk about the leadership part, it's this part that makes me feel like, am I tapped into what I am here to bring? Or am I just in response to what's happening around me? And if I am in response to what's happening around me, how do I want to bring what I want to, like what I can bring naturally or uniquely to that part of the conversation, to that environment? I know what I'm about. I see myself skirting around it. I see myself tipping my toes in, and there's a part of me that's like, my default will be to do it, and certain people know about me and they get that impact, but I wouldn't have positioned myself. I wouldn't have been in the rooms with those who are currently taking on the mantle of saying, going forward, we are actively creating what this future looks like. So I'm going to say something here too, because it's playing with me. DTK, I'm going to put it to you. You can let me know if this was actually something or not. But when Paul brought up belonging, I feel like it has space. When he talked about I'm not connected, it's a place that I'm exploring right now. So I'm not necessarily sure if I should bring it in, but I do want to I'm feeling disconnected in many different ways. Connected from my mission, connected from my leadership, disconnected from people. I thought it was. And I recognize that I keep creating this disconnection. I'll talk around like I'm really great at creating isolation. Yeah. I'm now in a place where I feel like I can belong most places. Like I belong to me enough that I'm good. But then it's like, then go out in the world and be you, be in the belonging of you with others. And that stage doesn't necessarily seem to be coming to life as much. It's almost like I'm trying to remember. I feel like Simba, I'm remembering who I am to the point where like, oh, okay, yeah, I can come on a live at any moment, but I wouldn't do a live on my own right now. But even though I've done hundreds of them in the past, so it's like there's this disconnect, and this disconnect that's taking place.
Yeah, and you said I'm connected to myself enough, and that word enough felt like a gut punch, right?
I caught this. I caught that feeling.
Yeah, it's like, oh.
I caught that feeling myself.
Enough. I'm engaged enough. I'm alive enough.
Can we land there for a second? When you say I'm enough, was it you actually are enough and you got into that calm space, or was it I don't know if I'm enough?
So I didn't even pick up on this. So whatever it is that y'all are talking about, I imagine and I believe that it happened because life, both of you saw it. But like for me, it's not even registered in my mind around it. So I said something about
I'm going to keep
Yeah.
you there for a minute because,
Thanks.
you got at least 3 of us are Enneagram 7, and one of the downsides is that instant expert, right? We're so excited about bringing in everything that we kind of stay just deep enough. So I think maybe that's why it was such a trigger to, I'm connected to myself enough. And is there enough connection to self? Is there enough grounding in self? Part of your community is serving outliers, mavericks, pioneers. They're all by nature isolated, rugged individualists. So where are you dipping in just enough, connecting just enough?
I'm not liking that when you say it that way. I'm not liking the way you say it, DTK. Which is good. So there's 2 sets of feelings that are taking place. One of them is enough from like a depth perspective, right? Like going to the Ennea 7, I'm like, I think that the last year or 2 I've been leaning like in my stress toward my Ennea 1, and the way I do it is I'm trying to build this whole system and get everything right. That's kind of how it manifests for me. Like, okay, is this the right approach? Do we have everything lined up? Is everything set up before I do it? And I've been looking into, over the last few years, my meditation practice has fallen off, and so there's an element of the depth that I would have brought, or the way that I felt I experienced depth, I don't feel that same level of connection, right? So that's one. All right. So when I hear that, that's one. And then the part of it, the part that almost felt like the facial snarl, where you're like just enough. I was like, just enough. Enough isn't enough. And how like for me,
7.
Not for me. I will tell you this. Like, my mantra is, if it's not too much, it's not enough. If it's not too much, it's not enough. Because like, I recognize that part of my journey in the belonging call has been to recognize, like, I am an intense person. I am a lot. I am too much for most people. And when it's time, when you need someone who can bring it to that level, by the way, here I am. Because this is just me normally. That's why when you said declare, DTK, like, in the past, like, if I was trying to get to the enoughness, I've been like, I champion the leaders who are shaping it. Like, that wasn't it. I'm like, I'm here already. Like, Mike, you should know this. I champion the leaders who are shaping the next era of humanity. It ain't no big deal. It's just what I do.
And the difference is the energetic presence you had when you declared it was very different. It wasn't reporting on, oh yeah, this is what that guy's mission is. It was you declaring, this is my mission, and there's a difference.
I got you.
And now it makes sense. I mean, look, you've got a new little one. There is upheaval to every element of identity when one of those little things comes along. So it's hard to be as connected to anything as you were before that arrival. So it's sort of that natural wobbly place to be. And I don't think we're disclosing anything to the world that you've got a little one. So
a little one.
There's that
I'll declare it if I need to.
Right. There's that piece of, where are you doing enough instead of doing it deeply? Whether it's connection to yourself, connection to the mission. Can you tell me, where is that happening?
Okay, so I'm just letting you know my internal reaction to that. My internal reaction this month. It was a word doing this time, where you're like, where are you doing enough? And I think I've been trying to do, y'all. I've been trying to do, and all this doing is getting me, like, it's just getting me further and further away from the game. Further, like, whatever I thought it was, I'm doing a ton, or I'm not doing anything. Like, this is an interesting thing. It's like, and I think where what feels powerful for me is, like, I feel like I can continue doing the doing part, because I'm like, let me rephrase that. There's nothing like things don't excite me like they used to. It used to excite me to come. It used to feel edgy to come onto a call and be coached live, or to like do, like, this is cool. Like, as long as you don't mind me, like, I just came from the gym. I know I can play this game. I know, like, I'm good. let's just jump in and we'll do this. So there's an element of me that's looking for my next edge. I'll admit there's like I want to feel that, like that surge of like, oh, sweaty palms. There's another element of me that's like, and this goes to the life change element, like, but I think it started with a life change as like a little bit of a thing. I've talked to people who have like multiple children of different age, like they make it work. You know, I want to be someone. The person I envision myself is someone that that is able to make it work, because we're only going to have more kids. So like, this is the easiest it's going to be for me going forward. You know, like I'm like, if I'm making a big deal about this, like I ain't like, this is going to be a hard, it's going to be a hard career. Like, so this is what's coming through. The thing is, it just feels like, I know all the things to do. I almost know too much in the sense, because I'm like, I want to get it right. But I feel like my being is off. I can come tomorrow and do all the stuff that are supposed to be done. And just feel like I'm talking to the wind, or like coming on and doing what, like, I don't know, there used to be a time where I would make Facebook Lives because I'm like, I don't want the world to know this. And so that was when I went on a Facebook Live. I was like, okay, what I don't want you to know about me is I feel that inclusion is very exclusive. And that like burned me up at the time. You know, even saying to y'all, what's my soul's calling? Like that burned me up. Like I was like, I don't, how are people going to receive this? Mm-hmm. I went on the journey to integrate this in within me. It's integrated, but now there doesn't, like, the fire feels like it's simmering versus like smoldering. Doesn't feel like the volcanoes. It just feels like I'm like a dormant volcano in a sense. I'm like, oh, okay. How about I just put some ash up in the air? You know that this volcano's still here, but I'm not erupting anytime soon, y'all. Nothing to be like. It's just this, but I'm alive, you know. And I think that's the part right now that doesn't feel as great.
I'm still struck. I want to take it back to the being. I mean, to the declaration piece at the beginning. The difference between you saying your mission and you declaring it is the difference between being present to what you're doing and just doing it. I think there's a link here. Go, Paul.
Can we do a little just a really quick, have you transport yourself into a space?
Cool.
I want you to just a minute or so take yourself to that place where you weren't withholding, where you're totally in and being right there, all there in that game. Going big. Okay. Is there a difference you can identify right going there to where you were a second just before that, where you were like, I'm just holding back. I'm just holding back. Do you feel or see a difference there?
Yeah. I'm reminded of I do. And there's a specific day that comes to mind that I'm living in. The difference that where it feels like for me was, there's a couple of different things. One, I didn't have to, I wasn't trying to teach anyone anything. That was a big thing. And that's the thing that gets into like the leadership elements of like, oh, I'm belonging to myself. Like I should go, like I have to prove that there's something that comes out of this. Otherwise, like if I just keep telling people to belong and go do the deep work and nothing changes, then what? Right. That's one. So there was nothing to prove. At least there was nothing to prove, but also nothing to teach, you know, but there was a lot to learn, you know, and a lot to share. I experienced myself with gravitas, and Paul, I don't know if you haven't met me when I've had it in my mind. So I'm like, you don't even know. But like I would go to conferences, yeah, it's the kind of stuff like I would go to conferences. It would be someone else's conference, and then I would ask my assistant to like help us get a dinner, like find a place where we can do dinner, and I would go through the conference and just be with people, and at the end of it, be like, hey, by the way, I've reserved a place for 10 awesome people. I think you're one of them. I'd love for you to come there. So in that regard, it became my conference, you know, for that bit. Like there were people out on stage talking. I'm like, there's just nothing in that for me. And I would go and I would create every conversation I needed to in the hallway. Or it was just so much. There was just so much gravitas to everything that I did. You know, it wasn't heavy, but it was also like I felt that the world was bending around, right? And just like time and space were bending, and it was great, you know. So it was interesting because it wasn't like I had a huge reach, but it was just like it was the aura of being in space with me changed things. And I didn't know it at the time. It was more like when I came back and I was like, something's different. Looking back at it now, that's some of the things that I think about. That's some of the ways that it felt different. And there was also like not a demand, but just like a way of like, it was like my standards. My standards were like, I see the conversation you're all having here. I just want no part of that one, but I'm not leaving the conversation. I'm just going to go take it to here or bring it up here, you know, elevate or deepen it. And I feel like I feel like I had access to that. Whereas now it's like, it might be deep for you. I'm not sure if it's deep for me right now. Might be elevated for you, but I'm not sure if it's elevated for me right now. And I think the thing for me is like, I'm okay with that. I just would love to. I'd love to have a reason to really show up. I'll show up, but I don't have that. Like I was on my journey in the past, Paul, and like it just happened to be that like others got to like experience it with it, right? I don't know what my journey is per se right now, you know, and I don't know. Thanks. I'll take that. But there's this element of, yeah, there's just this element of like I would love to be actively in the game again. I don't know how else to describe it. And I don't need to go back, but I do want to go forward in some meaningful way, or I want to be uplifted or go deeper. I don't want to go back. I've been looking back a lot to 2019, 2020, and I want to go back, but I'm definitely looking for what's up, what's next, what's deeper. I'm looking to connect again. That's it. At the end of the day, I'm just looking to connect. And that's, yeah. I'm curious what y'all see, because like, I know the path that I'm going down. I'm like, I think this is the path that I would try and go down. And I don't want to fool y'all into going down my path. So I'm curious what y'all say. Yeah. So like that right there, in the past, that would have been something for me, you know? But like, this is like, literally, I'm just like, no, I'm curious. What do you see? And I don't know how to reconcile that. Like, I'm like,
okay, a moment ago, you just paused at a really deep spot. And it's almost like you just went, now, if you can put yourself back right there, nothing to prove, still missing the connection, wondering where it is. And I'm going to use the enough word again. But it's not a just enough. It's, can you be really, I'm fucking enough. In that space where you are, where you're frustrated, can you be okay there?
I'm playing your words out in my head. So the I'm fucking enough doesn't really resonate. I can put it out in the world, but it doesn't. There isn't an internal shift on that.
Okay.
In the space of can I be with the frustration? There's more aliveness that's in there. The thing that's that's not resonated, and I think it's like, and I think it's like almost the color of the frustration in the sense here. It's like it's almost like this fine line of like I should be doing more. I don't really feel that per se, but it's like if we're going down the enough path, it's like it's not. It's like it's definitely I should be being more. That comes up, and if we're going down the enough path, it's like my friends, I have way more than enough, but I'm only showing up with enough. It only feels like it's I'm like when you have the power to move planets and to get people to like when you have that and you're not, and I don't know how to describe it. We all have gravity going on for us, but I'm like when you feel like you have the gravitational force of a planet and then you just have the weak pull that we all exist within each other, you feel that difference. So there's an element of it like enough is not enough for me. And I don't mean that from a like it's just like just not how I've lived my life, right? It's I'll put it in my terms. It's like it's not my outlier is in the too much world, right? And so there's an element of me that's like not tapped into that. I'm very there's more of the sense of I'm worried. Will this be right? Like that to me is like, is this going to be enough? Will I know what to do next? Will that like is that going to be enough? As opposed to like, y'all, the world ain't ready for this.
Yeah. So take a minute, lean into you're not going to know what's right to do next. You just
hang on. I'm still lost on why the king has amnesia.
Why the king has amnesia. All right, Mike, hit me with it.
Whoa, I'll step back. Go.
Yeah. Because everything you have said when Paul took you down the rabbit hole pointed to you being in your kingship. Which, if I recall correctly, a couple months ago when we were all together, you declared that that's where you wanted to spend more time exploring and being in your kingship. Mm-hmm. That's gravitas, right? That is right. Yeah. That is the trust in yourself that you show up in a room. And you become the room. You can create something that right. You draw the room in. You draw the whole room in. And
you created tables.
And much of what I have heard is a king being caught up in the thoughts of someone who has forgotten that they are a king, someone who has the power to move planets and could do it with the flick of a wrist.
And you can move planets. Don't waste time moving furniture.
And right, and that's the thing is if you can move planets, Niyama, let's move some planets and see what follows.
I like that game. I would love to play. Like what I hear, Mike, when I hear this here, I feel something inside of my chest is expanding. So DTK's used the word declare. For me, it's about ownership. It's just like I'm just owning it, right? I might have shared, but I feel like oftentimes like Simba, who's like, you're my Rafiki right now, hitting me on top of the head, like, nope, wrong again. Like remember who you are. Like that's what it feels like. So but I also hear an invitation in the look, we can spend our time trying to help you like get to this place of like remembering that you're the king because the king has amnesia and we'll do all that stuff. Or we can just like play the game since you're the king and see what we do afterwards. And let's go and create from there. And let's be in king creation and go from there. Mike, I appreciate that. I love that invitation because I'm like, that's a possibility created in the world as opposed to a problem solving world. And the invitation to be again, like like to be met by other kings that will meet me and that will recognize this guy doesn't have any problems, right? Like he just doesn't have anything to create. He doesn't have anything to move him forward. So like there's something in there that wants to be created. Let's go figure that out. Let's go make that happen. Where does he need to take the leap? Like the idea of being able to take a leap and know that like I don't need to wear like there's people around me that will build the bridge underneath me or put the wings on my arm to help me or just like build a net underneath that. That feels really good. And I think, Mike, the last thing here is like the idea of like being able to take that leap. Like, I think that's part of what's missing. Like, there's a list of things that I have had on my plate. That haven't really come to life in the way that I've wanted it to come to life. There's a part of me that feels like I'm legacy. I'm still legacy 2019. It should have happened in 2 months. Should have happened in 6 months, right before my kid was born. Now we're still here. I'm like, okay, I said I was gonna do it. Like I'm gonna get it done because I know I wanted it. But now I'm here and I'm doing it and I have it. I was like, but I felt like the 2 years have made a difference. You know, the 3 years have made a difference. And now I'm like, I'd love to keep doing this stuff, but where is the king headed now? And that's that. Well, I think you're hitting on something.
Let's mix the metaphor, a little bit. A king doesn't sit around throwing spaghetti. You are been in heavy do mode and doing lots of things. The king sits bloody still and does one or two things, does them very well, and moves on. There's a lot of clutter and a lot of noise around what you're doing. Where's the opportunity to peel back to that being-based doing where there's much less freneticism? Oh my God, how many times have we all heard slow down to speed up? Where's your opportunity to peel off some of the doing?
So that, like, I'm feeling that. It doesn't feel as strong as the other path, right? But I will answer this, because I'm finding that. I'm finding that there's a lot of crud. That's what I just described earlier. Like, I felt like I feel like I'm being washed. When things go well, it's like I'm being washed. There's water coming through, and a lot of like the dirt and the crud and things that I don't need are falling away. Mm-hmm. So it's like, I'm revamping. I'm going to my team. I'm like, okay, we've been putting systems first. Let's just get implementation first. Then we'll document how we do it, and we'll make a system out of it, right? Let's just it's still important, but just we have it in the wrong order, y'all. I'm recognizing going with Connect. I'm recognizing that a lot of the ideas that I have, part of the reason I've been stopping, all that stuff is because I'm out of connection. And so I've been really focused on that recently. Just saying
you're out of connection with what? With
people. And that is actually, that like for me, part of my belonging to self is great. I don't need to belong to anything else outside of me, but I want to belong with. And I do want to, and my thing is I like to co-create and play, right? Solitaire is not my game, right? I want to go out and I can go to the park and as long as there's other kids playing at the park, I'm good. But if I got to the park and I'm sitting there on the swings alone or I'm going down the slides alone, it's just like, let me back home. Let me go play some video games instead. So like for me, there's this element that's playing out of like, I'm taking the time now to slow down and just say like, who do I want to talk to today? And just reach out. I'm going back and I'm just like, I'm literally just sitting there and like, oh, your face showed up. That makes me happy. I'm going to send a message. Maybe it's a video message, maybe it's a type message, but I'm recognizing that like I've been out of connection. I'm joining beach volleyball now. I'm trying to get back into music and singing. Like I've really created that isolation. So that's kind of where I see the slowing down to take place, where it's like there's nowhere to get to, but like I've always had environments where they've already been curated people that I can just play with, and now I'm like, oh, okay, it's time for me to create my playground again and invite people over.
I think the bridge here is where that doing is coming from. It's not just connecting more with people.
Okay. Let me go right with that.
From the place with the ground.
But I want to go to the amnesia. I felt amnesia come back.
Oh, it's because we went to a question that was, but like, oh, there's like this. The question itself was amnesia laden. I'm like, I want to go to what needs to be created, and we're like, well, let's go back to this thing. I'm like, cool. We can go back to that, and along with it comes amnesia. If you want to play the game, right? If we're going to skip the fluff, then we need to figure out what is it that Niyama wants to create again.
Okay, exactly.
Right now, I don't want to create.
Here's my question for you. You want the connection, you want the people, you want all this stuff.
Oh, my heart's beating. Ooh.
So going into battle for yourself, you've done that. Who are you willing to go to battle with so that you'll go all the way fucking in?
I love the question. I don't have an answer to that, Paul. I would love to have an answer to that. The answers that come up feel aligned. It's my socially conscious leaders. It's the globally conscious. It's my outliers, my pioneers, my members. It's all them. It's the world changes. It's the emergent leaders. It is all of them. And there's still an element of it that is like, I'm like, but why do I want them? And not, or where, like, I don't know. I don't know what it is, but it's like the answers are coming in, and it's been my answer. It will always be my answer. But again, I'm not like, I'm not feeling connected when I feel that answer. I'm like, yeah, that sounds cool. That feels right. Like, it's been what it is. But if battle broke out, because battle is breaking out all around us every day. Our world is up, and like there's a lot going on, and people are showing up in a lot of different ways. I don't feel like I'm showing up. I don't feel like I'm connected to what that is. I'll have conversations in small areas and stuff. Like back in the day, if this is another back in the day thing, but it's like I would be organizing around something. I'd be like, hey, we need a space to go and talk about how we feel around this. Or like there was a connection to what was going on enough that something like that's where my creativity lies. Like like I am not someone that takes a blank sheet of paper and says, I know what to do with it. But like I'm an arranger. That's my strength. That's my top execution strength. It's like moving things around to the places that they need to be. So I actually need inputs on that.
Niyama, you used to be crystal clear on what you wanted for your outliers, for your pioneers, for your mavericks. Mm-hmm. Are you clear still on what you want for them?
I think that Paul is an answer. So I'll acknowledge that. Maybe it's like there's a part of me that's now wants like what I want with them. Like, and so I think I'm experiencing something where I'm like, I'm trying to make a shift from like pure service to like actually more play, more peership is actually the word I was going for, like more peership and more like co-creation, you know? So it's like, so it's like, there's an element of that that's like, oh, I want to be out there with you too. When I'm meeting someone and they've spoken at the UN, you know, I'm like, oh, like screw TED Talks, you know, like I want to be speaking at the UN. Like if you just went down the street and did like a TED Talk, like I'm not interested, you know. But this, I'm like, oh, that's cool. And I brought it up to one of my friends I'm in the mastermind with. I was like, dude, I was just talking to someone who spoke at the UN. It was awesome. Like, I want to be speaking to more people like that. And he's like, and he just started laughing. I was like, what's so funny? He's like, oh, dude, I spoke at the UN when I was 17. I was like, what? And like, and it's like, and that's where like the connection part. So I'm like, he's what I've wanted has always been in my world, you know. But am I seeing that? Am I bringing it in? And what can we do? What kind of fun can happen from there? Like, there's just this element of like, this is the king has amnesia though, but it's true. What I don't want to say here, but I think I need to say, is that like from basically my adult life, I've been in environments. My phone just went off. I was like, is that telling me not to go here? So here we go. I've been in environments that where like people have been curated that are playing a really interesting game. They're not all playing the same game, but they're playing their own interesting game. Went to an Ivy League college. Like, I didn't know everyone that was there. And I had a totally different path in life. I thought my path was to go play the trombone at the College of New Jersey. And then I got an opportunity. I got an invitation to apply to this college. I got in. I had no clue about it. Everyone else knew about it. I had no idea like what it was. And it changed my entire life, because I'm like, oh, I didn't know this was possible for me. I didn't even know that I didn't know that this was possible for me. And what's happened is that I've gone from there to my work environments. They've all been curated with just like highly awesome people. At the school I went to, they said we're elite but not elitist. And there's this element that like I'm like, oh, I just really miss being in elite fields once again. What is it like to be in like the elite, like playing in the elite way? And that's where the idea of like co-creation versus service comes into play, because I'm like, in those places, I wasn't trying to like serve. I was just with my peers. They had awesome ideas that they were trying to bring to life. And I was like, oh, let me help you bring that to life, whether I'm connecting you, whether I'm doing something, whether it could be a coaching conversation, it could be whatever it is. But like, I have so many tools at my disposal. It's like just the me being with them. We're whiteboarding. I'm calling in a friend and he's going to help you do like a spatial exercise. Oh, we're going to go deep. Well, we need to talk about like you and your family. Let's talk about this game that we were just watching. Like, there was creation all around me, and possibility was the default, not the thing. And it wasn't mired in problems. It wasn't, here goes a problem that I can solve, and I know how to solve these problems, and let me try and turn whatever you have into the problem that I'm really good at. I'm a carpenter and you must be a nail. I know that, like, let me nail you, you know? That sounds funny. It sounded different in my head. But like like there's just this pool to like, and I think this is helpful here, but it's like, I feel there's this pool to like not have to just show up in the problems of it all. Like, there's this pool to be like, all right, I'm a king. I want to hang out with other kings, you know? And now that I'm hanging out with other kings, like, what do us kings do? You know? Like I love watching shows like Billions, and like, I haven't watched the session, but I'm like, it's on my list here. Like, I love these things where it's like, oh, when people are no longer trying to make money, they're up to this power game. I had no idea there's a whole different game that was on, where it wasn't like, hey, I made 6 figures, I made 7 figures. They're like, I just decided to buy a business so I can fire you because you suck today. Yeah, like, it's a totally different game that they're playing, you know? And I'm like, oh, hold on. What other games exist? And I think this goes back to like 17-year-old gonna go play the trombone at the College of New Jersey. It was exactly the right thing for me, you know? And I had no idea there was the Ivy League game, and that I was already a player, and that I could be really successful in that game. And so there's a part of me that's, I think that's what's missing right now. It's like, I know I can play this game. I can go on and do I've had a podcast since 2015. I can go create a brand new podcast, go on all the different, like, do a speaker circuit, hire some people to get me on there. Oh, I can do lives. I can do this. I can do that. I can do that. The parts, I'm like, what's the game that I want to play now? And the one part of it is like, there's an element that has been missing for the last few years, which is really the bringing together component. I haven't done that at the consistent level that I want to be doing it at. And so there's a part of me that's like, I need to figure that out. But there's another part of me that's like, I'm willing to let all of it go to go and find a game that I want to play again.
There's the need. Find a game that you want to play.
I don't know. I don't necessarily know how, but like, I know I'm happy to like. Let me pause on that. But that is the need. Find a game that I want to play. Let me breathe a little bit, y'all.
Yeah.
The word crap just keeps coming in my head. It's like crap. Because it's like, oh yeah, you finally figured it out. And I'm like, is this real? Is this NES 7? Like, I need to go out and do something new. And by the way, sorry to all NES 7s if I'm just like, every time I have an affliction, I'm like, oh, it must be NES 7. But like,
blessing and a curse, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. Okay. Thank
Well,
you.
I'm like, I'm supposed to have been there. I've done it. I went down the journey. I knew what it is. This is the time for me to be turning my journey and turning like the mess into the mission, the mess into the message. Like I should like this, and I'm like,
You mean you
I'm
get
down.
it right once and you never have to work on yourself again?
I think the thing is, I think it's like I want to work on whatever is next. Mike, I feel you have so much that you just want to drop on me, so I am in receipt.
Your instincts are good.
Yeah, my legs are up. I'm like,
just a very simple observation.
yeah.
The king is radically, obnoxiously, offensively free. And you know that they are free because they have the freedom to mess up royally, pick themselves back up, and keep going like nothing ever even happened. You are that freedom, Yama. You're going to look for a game, and you might find the wrong one. You should find the wrong one. I hope you do. If you don't find the wrong one, you probably didn't look very hard. But you're going to find the wrong game. And you're going to be like, shit, I found the wrong game. Mess that one up. And then you're going to get back to it. Because you know that your game is out there. And you know it when you're in it.
There's a lot in there that resonates. What I some of the shifts, some of the way I'm thinking about it and feeling about it differently is I'm recognizing that I'm like I just knowing how deeply I'm craving whatever the next game is, but and also recognizing as like the part that felt off of like your game, I was like, my game for now was like what was coming through. It's like, you know what? My game at a time was to bring together a truly inclusive and empowered world. Then my game for a time was to champion the leaders who are shaping the next era of humanity. Maybe that's still my game. Maybe it's not. But it's like, I've always said, like my missions, I have missions that last for 2 to 3 years, 3 to 5 years. You know, it's like I'm a man of many missions, you know, and it's not like, what's my mission? It's like, by the way, when you caught me in this, I also describe myself like an ocean. And like with the ocean, it's like there are waves. The ocean is vast and it's plentiful and it's all over. And there are times where there are certain places you can go and you can experience those waves. And it's like, if you're a surfer, you like, I used to get like people like, oh, I can't make the time that you made for your Facebook Live, or can you let us know when it's happening? Or can you make your messages shorter or make them longer or whatever it is? And I was like, I'm the ocean. Like, you know, a surfer doesn't go to the ocean to be like, oh, sorry, I need to use the bathroom. So your best wave for the day, can you just wait just like 30 minutes? Like, no. If you want to ride that wave, you need to be in the ocean. There is one place to do it. You have to be in the ocean if you're going to ride that wave. And if you missed it, stick around for the next one. It'll be back or not. Maybe you have to go travel to where the next wave is. You missed like Okinawa and at this time, then
So hold
like,
on. So go back to that. You're a man of many missions.
I'm a man of many missions.
This is my mission now. And
I think I think what I can be good with right now is to recognize that I'm in the stage where I'm looking for a new mission. And that's like, there isn't anything that's going to come out like this is what my mission is right now, because I don't have it. If I had it, I'll be living in it, and I'll be talking about how do we live into this mission, right? So what this feels like for me is like, because I recognize this, I also do kind of know the process of like what the new mission is. You know, there's an element of like, it's about like living into and allowing whatever the next mission is. So to me, that's like, I think this is why being disconnected feels so much, because I'm like, I don't have any new inputs. Like the inputs I have around me are not like, they're not giving me the new information that I'm looking for to be able to find where the next game is. So I do think that the game that I want to be playing now is being side by side, co-creating with, collaborating with others, as opposed to only being in service. I like, and so that's something that's big. And yeah, there's a part of it that leans into it. It's a part of it that, yeah, this it's interesting. The things that come to mind, I'm like, are they real for me? Are they legacy? Are they what do they call it? Vanity elements. Like I have a friend here who has a book. I was like, this guy wrote a book. I want to write a book, right? But like the game for me is the I want to do it, right? The freedom of just like, I decided to have a book, y'all. So here goes my book. Like that, I will come on a Facebook Live to tell you, but like, hey, y'all, 3 days ago I decided to write a book. Here goes the process I'm going through. This is like, I would love to share that journey. You know, I would love to share the journey of actually playing the game and being met with other people that are playing the game. And like, here goes some awesome person I just talked about. You need to know about what this person's doing, and this is good for me to just kind of like lean into, because I've always looked at it and saying like my time is now, but my best time is still like 15 years from now. And it's like there's this element of like, in that 15 years, when they look at the who's who of who's shaping our world, and this like, they all have some kind of connection, or like there's a dinner that I have and they're just there. You know, they're like, oh, are you going to the, like, you know, the Ashong Fest of like Shong Fest, let's call that Ashong Fest 20, you know, what is it, 2037, you know? And I'm like, of course, you're like, I got like I'm one of the 37 people who got that invitation. I'm one of the thousands of people who are going to this other thing. But there's an association that I would love to have. I don't say that out loud. The elite and elitist thing I don't say too, because it feels elitist. That's why I haven't been able to find that place. I'd like, as felt like I want to play with people who are playing an elite game, but I'm not saying that anyone is, that I'm above anyone, because that actually is not my thing. I want to play with you, you know. But if we're gonna play, can we play at this level?
Yeah,
and that's and that's
so
I appreciate that.
Yeah, that's the very nature of playing at an elite level, is
so
you are playing at a higher level. And what I'm fascinated about is standing at this on the stage at a Shong Fest in 2037. What the king looks back at this conversation and says, "Damn, what was all that about?" Right?
I mean, that's like, this is a necessary conversation, because it's this is the conversation that happens in my head. I just have to happen to have 3 other Niyamas to play this out with.
Yeah.
Right. 3 other Niyamas from all these different perspectives to do this. But this is the mental game that I'm playing in my head all the time, you know. And there's the part of me that's like, is this about belonging? Like, am I like not belonging to myself? And there's another part of me is like, you just said the word just. Like, is that like so I have each of you in my head playing this out, but it's great to be able to do it in real time, and to be in the experience of it all. And then to know, like, for me, I think the thing that like is just really true for me is like, I know that if there's one thing I could teach the world, or I can be in teaching the world, it's like the framework of transformation, which basically mirrors the stages of competence, like in learning, you know, from unconscious incompetence all the way to conscious competence, and then unconscious conscious competence. Like, that's how I live my life. I'm like, oh, I didn't know this. Now I'm going to go experiment so I can like make a whole bunch of mistakes. This is the messy period. Then I figured it out. Okay, now let me get better at it. And then after that, it's like, oh, I've gotten so good at this. Now let me go and like help other people to do this so that they can go through that process faster. I'm not one person that just does it once and then stays and then does it all the time. I realize like I have these multiple loops, and the importance of this conversation is that you help me realize that, oh, I've now become aware that I want a different game to play. And now I have to go through the messiness of not necessarily knowing what that game is, but embracing this time as the messy time and doing the things that like come with messiness, like doing the things that come with experimentation and allowing that to be the case. Yeah.
Now, one of the things you said before we started was that you wanted to have this conversation again after we've been rolling with this for a while. So what do you want to take with you from this conversation towards the next one we have together?
It's really just about like, it's about playing with play. Go out and play. Yeah, I think that's it. Like, there's this thing about like it goes. I'm thinking about that playground I was talking about earlier. It's like I'm not going because a bunch of kids are playing football or a bunch of kids are playing soccer or a bunch like I'm just going because the kids are there. And once there's kids, like, and I'm myself a child, like we can play whatever game we want to play. Like there's infinite opportunity there. So I think just being in that space and recognizing that like, oh, this isn't the same game I was playing. I don't necessarily need to know what the game is that I'm playing next, but I do know who I want to play it with. And what's like for me, I think like the part that becomes freeing for me is I can like release the what and just focus on the who. And just like, let me just go reconnect with people. Let me go find the people who are playing a game and have conversations, meet up with them, all see what it is. Just be with them. And then the game will reveal itself. It always has, you know, or someone will call me and they'll lift me up into something, or I'll be like, hey, I hear you're doing this here. I'm feeling like, what if we did this? You know, that's what I'm feeling right now. I'm feeling it's not the time to know. It's the time to grow in relationships again. Yeah. Okay.
Now I'm aware that we are at time.
Yeah, and I also became aware of that.
Yeah.
You saw that, right? Because I'm like, oh, there's someone
yeah.
someone who's waiting for me, so I'm gonna have to take off. But I also since I have missed that time, I want to make sure that I stay in this exploration of space. Would you mind helping me become complete with me, even if there's more that the three of you have to do?
Yeah, I like the king putting it back on his court.
And it's nice to have a court. Gosh, it's nice to have. It was great getting this invitation. It really was.
Well,
like,
and
people who are playing the game, cool.
That's an important piece. Since you've hit your new hometown, you know, you remember you said your goal was to become the mayor of San Diego, and only half jokingly, or only maybe an ounce jokingly, and not just because it's, you know, sorry, backwards. My focus, like space, but you, in order to play, you have to have space to play in,
and players with me,
and you have to have players. And so there are two places from my perspective, for you to put attention: curating your players, and clearing. What did you say? The water coming through and the dirt that the crud that needs to go. And I think those are two great places for your energy to go right now, given that you're looking to allow, playing off some of yours, that next mission to emerge.
Yeah. I've been saying emergent. It's emergent, not convergent. Like, and I'm not, and I know what it's like to diverge. That's not it. I'm not just trying to do a new thing because it's a new thing. It's just like, it's a time for something new to come. I just have to cultivate that and be ready for when it shows up.
Paul, Mike?
In this moment, I'm not noticing anything else wanting or needing to be spoken, at least out of this mouth.
I'll just I'll reflect back. I made a note when you were talking about the game, and then the doing came up, and it was taking you away from your game and potential players. And I ended up just noting that, and that later on you said the players you meet, the game's kind of just going to use your words even a second ago, it'll emerge. And that means there's a childlike, reckless abandonment that might be called the audacity of the king. And if you land on your face, we're
I'll
here.
give you a call. Yeah.
We're
here.
Here's my thing. I'm gonna call you while I'm in the air. I'm like, so I jumped. Hey, so would love not to fall on my face. If I do, I know you picked me up, but like, wouldn't it be great if
Wouldn't it be
you just
great?
like brought your back and I just like landed on that and then I have to run, y'all, but I'm deeply appreciative. Thank you. You sparked something back inside of me and I'm feeling the right kinds of energy. I appreciate it.
Thanks for coming to play.
Yeah, thanks for the invitation.
Thank you, dude. What a treat it was to have you here.
More to come. All right, so wow, that was the first 9 hours. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Well, for those of you who joined and for those of you who see it later, thanks for being here. And I look forward to what Mike, Paul, and I figure out for next.
Ahoy.
Thanks for hanging around with us.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. Take care.